everyone, welcome back to my channel Live and Dream Canada. Extremely excited to be once again here to share my experience. For people who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Winston D'Souza. I am an international student at Lambton College, Toronto. I am also currently working full-time with a company called TechStaff IT Solutions as a senior recruiter. And as you can see by the thumbnail and the title, the whole purpose of the video today is to explain, how to make a good Canadian style resume. And the reason why I chose this topic is because I feel, in any job search, 50% of your role is making a good resume, a good customized resume. Because if you're missing this 50%, no matter you put 10 applications or 50 applications, you will still fail because you'll never reach to the next part of the interview. So you need to, nail this part of it absolutely right, and that's the reason why today we'll be talking about. So, basis my discussion with a lot of people, especially HR people coming from outside, and also my own personal experience, I've understood there are predominantly, 5 reasons why resumes get rejected at any stage. One is your resume is getting screened through an application tracking system. And hence there are 3 reasons the application tracking system will shoot your resume down. One is because it will say it does not show all the keywords in your resume, and hence it could reject your resume. 2, the ATS will show similarity between the JD and your resume is less than 50%, and in an ideal case scenario, a recruiter will look at least minimum 75% similarity between the resume and the JD. Third biggest reason why an application tracking system could reject is because you don't have enough number of years of experience in a particular skill. Now let me share an example. An example is basically if I am saying I have, doing technical hiring. It's mentioned in my summary of my resume, but it does not mention in the jobs that I've worked. It will always show that I don't have technical skills of 5 years. The second case scenario is if your resume is being reviewed by an HR person. If your resume is being reviewed by an HR person, by and large, there are 2 reasons why you could get shot down. And this is something that I've verified after speaking to a lot of people and in my own experience as well. So one reason is they'll say that you're overqualified for the job. 2, they could say is that you have no Canadian experience and hence we can't take you for this particular job. Now, there are some means and methods in which you can deal with these 5 issues by and large. The first is the keywords. So yes, you need to focus on putting all the keywords that is required to be there in the resume. I'm just taking an illustration like you can see on my screen right now. If there's a hiring manager or a recruiter who's searching for a senior recruiter with 3 broad parameters. One is he's looking at recruitment experience. So the purpose of this particular video and the purpose of talking about the format is especially for those people who are coming with a lot of years of experience from their home country. Now, by and large, there are 2 types of formats that HR people use in their resumes. One is a hierarchical resume and the other one is a functional resume. So one is a hierarchical resume, the other one is a functional resume. A hierarchical resume classically looks like this. So it will talk about what you've done in a chronological order right from your current job to your last job. Generally, these kind of resumes would run into 2 pages or 3 pages because you would end up putting so much of details into it this resume would go on for 2-3 pages. The drawback of this resume is that it would actually make you look overqualified for the job that you're applying, because you know that you're going to come down and apply for a 1 level lower or a 2 level lower job. So this will make you look overqualified, and hence the functional resume plays a very important role, which looks like this. Now if you look at this is focusing predominantly on your skills. This is focusing on your work experience just in 5-6 bullet points, and is speaking of your achievements by and large. So there are 2 areas where it's taking up most of the space. One is your skills, 2 is your work and your achievements. I am not going to talk about how to articulate all these things, because I think people who are coming with 9-10 years of experience will know how to articulate sentences and actually make it. When I mean articulate, I mean how to use action verbs in a resume, etc. So I'm not going to be talking about those parts at all. But yes, for me, the functional resume has worked like wonder, because the minute I started floating my resume using the functional resume format, it worked like wonder. I started getting selected more often. So one, it takes care of the problem of being overqualified. Two, to some extent, it also takes care of the problem of having no Canadian experience, because it focuses more of your hard skills and your soft skills at a particular job. And actually, before I go ahead, I would like to elaborate. There's nothing wrong with the chronological hierarchical resume. It is absolutely fine, but I think it only works best when you have worked for 1 or 2 years in Canada and then you start using a hierarchical resume. If it's your first job, if it's your first application that you're putting in Canada as an immigrant or as a PR or as an international student, I believe a functional resume should do the job very, very well, because you're being interviewed for a recruiter or a senior recruiter. They don't want to see too many words on the resume. They want to see the words that really matter to them for this particular job. So I'm just going to share a few examples to illustrate my point that I'm actually trying to make here. So I'm looking at another functional resume on the left hand side here, and you can see this resume on the left hand side classically is a hierarchical resume. It's a resume, talking chronologically, the person has worked in his current job to his last job. The blue color fields basically is highlighting the fact of things that are not relevant to your role that you're applying for. And the yellow color fields is what the application tracking system is actually looking at. Now, in such a resume, the recruiter looks at your profile and finds obviously the person to be overqualified. So one is you have to knock out all those blue things mentioned on your resume, which are not relevant to the job that you're applying for. Now let's come to this resume, which is a classic functional resume, which I'm recommending, which is a one-pager. The person viewing the resume and the application tracking system both will look at it, will look at the yellow keywords that it is looking out for. So it's looking out for recruitment, for someone who's done sourcing, headhunting, technical hiring, worked on application tracking systems, and it's bang on. So this is how you can ensure that you aren't overqualified for this particular job. In my last video, I also did mention about give yourself time. Do not take up any, part-time jobs in the meanwhile, because the blue color field, I've highlighted the blue color aspect because I've seen some people, and in fact quite a bit of people, who take up jobs, once they come back here, work for 6 months to 1 year's time, and it becomes extremely difficult to then switch back into HR, because a recruiter who's looking at a profile and who sees such blue areas on your resume, see that as a red flag. Because everybody is looking at your last job, everybody is looking at the recency effect. If you continue doing this blue area for 1 year's time or 1.5 years time, trust me, it will be very, very difficult to get back into HR, because a recruiter sitting screening profiles and a hiring manager sitting with a BMO or with a bank or with any corporate will look at your recent job that you worked. So hence, give yourself months time, be patient, avoid writing these things in your resume so that you don't get shot down just because you've taken up a part-time job. So it's better to avoid showing such things rather than putting it there and actually, making yourself unemployable. So just to summarize this whole thing, the first problem we spoke of not having the keywords missing in your resume, or the first problem we actually spoke about, keywords missing from your resume. I showed you how an application tracking system is viewing your resume. So it's extremely important to look at the JD, look at your resume, and see the relevant words that a JD is looking at is present on your resume. The more of those yellows that you find in a resume, the more the merrier. The lesser means the similarity would drop down. If the similarity drops down, the likelihood of the application tracking system or the recruiter selecting you to go ahead to the next round becomes lower and lower. The third point is number of years of experience. Now, this is important when you are applying for a job and you're using a chronological resume. A lot of people make this mistake, and hence I thought I should put it down here. I'm going to give you an example. Here you can see the summary of a resume that I'm trying to show you, and you can see there's application tracking system mentioned in the profile summary, but it's not mentioned anywhere in the jobs that he or she has worked at. It's not there in the first job, second job, third job, fourth job, which means the application tracking system looks at it slightly differently. The application tracking system or the recruiter looks at it differently and would feel that the person has knowledge of it but does not have the enough number of years of experience in that particular field or in that particular skill. So if I'm saying I have worked with an application tracking system in my summary, would not necessarily mean that I have 5 years of experience with an application tracking system. Unless in each job role, I would actually have to mention application tracking system everywhere to prove to the applicant, to the ATS, that actually I have 5 years of experience in ATS. Or I would in my summary need to mention that I have 5 years of experience with ATS, 5 years of recruitment, 5 years of payroll, 5 years of this, 3 years of that, which makes it much more accurate and the likelihood will actually improve. How do we ensure that I don't get how do I ensure that I don't be overqualified, don't look overqualified? I've already shared, you have to use a functional resume for that particular thing, and that's the best way that I believe worked for me, and I think it should work for everybody else as well. So please start using a functional resume. Trust me, it will work like wonders for everyone. And focus on your skills, focus on your hard skills, soft skills. Try to mention the number of years of experience in each of those skills. And remember, customization is the key. If you are not customizing your resume for each and every job, it's bound to fail. So great, yeah. I think the basis of this whole discussion is the application tracking system, and it's an exhaustive topic in itself. So I will definitely be talking about what an application tracking system is and how you should be looking at it, because if you've understood how an application tracking system works, then only will you be able to make your CV right. I always keep saying that before you even start, working on your resume and editing your resume, customizing your resume, please spend some time in understanding what an ATS is, how an application tracking system really works. Because if you understand that, trust me, life will get much more easier. So all the very best to everyone who is in the process of actually, searching for jobs in Canada. All the best.